Welcome to the PIARC podcast Global Road Voices. Founded in 1909, PIARC, World Road Association, has been the leading global platform for knowledge exchange on roads and road transport policies. With over 120 member countries, PIARC fosters collaboration and innovation to advance a sustainable future for the road and transport sectors. Visit PIARC.org to access exclusive resources, stay updated on activities, and become a PIARC member to engage with the international road community.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Patrick Malléjacq, Secretary General of the World Road Association, also known as PIARC or PIARC, depending on your preference. We were founded in 1909 with one role, which is to facilitate the exchange of knowledge on everything that's related to roads, road safety, pavements, tunnels, you name it. We are lucky to count as our lead members 129 member governments, and they help steer the work of 23 technical committees. And this is our first podcast ever at PIARC. With us today is Christos Xenophontos from Rhode Island DOT, who chairs our committee called 1.1. Christos, good morning. Can you please say a few words about yourself?
Good afternoon for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to see you. Can you please say a few words about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for enabling TC11 to be the trailblazers again and be the first ones out of the gate for this new media that PIARC is pushing. And, I hope it really comes okay and we convey a lot of the great work that happens. So it's great to be with you today and talking about TC11 and the work that we are doing on envisioning the transport agency of the future. This is what we've been doing during this cycle. I work for the Rhode Island Department of Transportation in the United States, where I'm the Assistant Director for Administrative Services. And I currently lead our agency's research and innovation, among many other things that I do. I'm also honored to be the chair of AASHTO's Committee on Performance-Based Management and to be the co-chair of TRB's International Coordinating Council. I consider myself blessed to have this opportunity to be involved in these three great organizations and really to be given the opportunity to collaborate amongst great people and work over the last few years in enabling international collaboration and help bring people together.
Well, thank you, Christos, for being here with us, and thank you for being so committed to sharing knowledge, including through PIARC. So you've been involved with PIARC, the World Road Association, for 10 years now, or maybe more, and we are incredibly grateful for the time, energy, and leadership that you are committed to our association. As you know, we always say that it's essential that the work we do is meaningful for the road community, but also for the experts, meaningful and rewarding for the 1,800 experts who volunteer their time in our technical committees and all our activities. So I'd really be curious to know, what makes you tick in PIARC? What do you get out of it?
Oh my God, where do I start? Energy. Energy and knowledge and lots of both. Working on global transportation challenges. It's with people from all over the world makes you realize not that our small world, whether it's the Rhode Island Department of Transportation, that's the smallest Department of Transportation in the United States, or whether you are from the Caltrans in California or Texas or Austria, that we bring all these people together and it helps us realize that we can learn from each other. And I'm really very proud that TC11, over the years, even before I joined, we cultivated an atmosphere that people from all over the world are welcome to participate and where everyone is welcome to share their knowledge and experience, where we roll up our sleeves. Notice I have my short sleeve shirt over today. And we get to work on global issues. We're one of the recognitions at PIARC is that what we are working on is not necessarily just unique. We all have our unique challenges, of course, but a lot of the problems that we're working on are very similar. And I have never met transportation professionals that when you give them a problem, they don't set aside everything else and want to concentrate on solving that problem. The other part of PIARC, and I think, we've had this conversation many times, is the PIARC secret sauce, right? Which is the one that enables you to really get together in person. In the United States, and I think we borrowed this from our Italian friends, we say that when you break bread with someone, you create this bond, this family bond, where not only we work on PIARC, but we are in communication with each other all the time, asking questions. So we create this tremendous network of people around the world that when we are facing unique challenges in our own organizations, we can actually reach out and say, hey, how did you do that? Did you face that? And it gives us really, so, and all of this, I mean, I get excited just talking about it because, we've created tremendous friendships, tremendous network, and overall it helps all of us, not just myself.
Well, great. Nice to hear that we are in PIARC. We provide a framework in which people can share knowledge and learn from each other. But I'd like to know, in practice, are you able to give us one example of knowledge that you gained in PIARC that you have then been able to put to use in Rhode Island in your quote-unquote real life?
No, I'm just kidding. But so before I give you the practical example, let me say that what we have learned is that road and transport tech sector is really an important contributor to every country's economic prosperity, right? Whether it's a low or high income country, roads enable the movement of people, of goods, you provide access to jobs, they link farms to market and to table, and they really support economic development in all of our countries. We also learned that a safe, durable, and efficient transport network is feasible through the adoption of new technologies and embracing of innovation. So this applies not only to Rhode Island DOT, but to all the jurisdictions. So what I just said, it's like, yes, it's not as specific, but this is like the general knowledge that we bring together just by virtue of participating. And everybody who's an active and engaged member of the technical committees in PIARC, it's able to really bring this knowledge to back to their transport administrations. The other part that is important here is not necessarily the direct application of a particular solution, but the knowledge gain and expansion of horizons that members of PIARC committees get through their participation. As you travel and you meet with other transportation professionals in their countries, you have the opportunity to experience solutions in situ. And that is so more powerful than just reading it in a report. And, when you actually see it in place and you see how it works, and then you start asking questions and you poke, and you learned, whether you are learning from Singapore on, really new emerging technologies, or whether you are learning from low middle income countries because they've managed to come up with some simple solutions. So, and in response to the direct knowledge, back in 2018, we actually, 2017, I'm sorry. I mean, the pandemic has been so screwed up with my year. So back in 2017, we actually hosted TCA1 in Providence, Rhode Island. And as a result of having the committee here in Rhode Island, at the time we were looking at, the impact of emerging and disruptive technologies, and we're working on that. And our director had a tremendous industry interest in understanding the impact of connected and autonomous vehicles on our infrastructure. We have a 10-year plan in Rhode Island, that's called Roadworks. And, so his questions were like, okay, so if these things are coming and we are planning 10 years out, what do we need to do, for us to be ready so that we incorporate things into our projects? And so the opportunity was here, with the folks from different countries and PIARC. We organized very quickly, with Jonathan Spear's help. Jonathan is one of our members. And a mini summit, which was a half-a-day workshop on connected and autonomous vehicles. We brought speakers from the United States. We, of course, had the PIARC experts, and everybody shared their knowledge. We took that, and in less than a year, we were able to get a full project up and running on the streets of Providence, which
Oh,
ran for a year until the pandemic. And, we called this service Little Rhode. It had a number of shuttles going around an 8.5 kilometer loop, with 11 stops. And, we've learned a lot from that project, but we would have never really been able to start it if it wasn't for having the opportunity to pick inside the heads of our colleagues from different countries and, be hosting the PIARC, meeting here in Rhode Island.
wow, that's so exciting, and I think it can be a great lesson for many, because sometimes we see these international activities as side activities that are not entirely useful and cost a little bit of money, a little bit of time. But it's really great to hear from one key expert in the USA that you are able to get something practical for your real life, for real users of the road transport systems out of it. So back to the committee. So TC, as we say in PIARC, for technical committee. So TC11 is called Performance of Transport Administrations. And it covers three main issues: envisioning the transport agency of the future, public value creation by transport agencies, and strengthening workforce. And today, that's okay with you, Christos, we will focus on the transport agency of the future. So issue 1.1.1. But I will start with a digression. You've also worked, as you just pointed out, on innovation in your committee, including on intelligent transport systems, services. Could you tell us a little bit more? Have you worked on artificial intelligence, for example?
Yes, and let me say that, and you're probably going to hear me say this again, that one of the keys to a safe, efficient, and durable transportation system is innovation and the employment of new techniques and technologies in solving not only our daily challenges, but helping us plan for the future. Transportation work takes years to plan, design, and build, and therefore it is important not only that we work on the challenges of today, but we look ahead to the challenges that we're going to be facing in 5 years, 10 years, 25, and 50 years ahead. I mean, we design our bridges for 75 to 100 years, so you have to take a lot of things into consideration. So during the 2023 cycle, TC11 had a special focus on innovation as a cross-cutting issue across PIARC technical committees. And we worked with the Office of the General Secretariat, and we launched a special project on innovation, which has produced an exemplary report that I know we cannot share links through the podcast, but I would really encourage people that they are listening to this to get to the PIARC website and download this great report on innovation, which identified the key drivers for innovation, the required elements for creating and supporting a culture of innovation within an organization. That actually also helped us formulate the terms of reference for us in this cycle. But it also helped us craft together with the Office of the General Secretariat a new special project on artificial intelligence on the road sector. And the project oversight team, which has brought a lot of great experts together, because we expect that AI is going to be touching a tremendous amount of areas and topics within transport organization, is being led by Jonathan Spear of the UK, who also leads our working group on envisioning the transportation of the future, together with Maria Eugenia Martinez of Spain. The purpose of the special project on AI is to develop a horizontal scan across the road sector and point out all the fields where AI can be efficiently introduced over the next 5 years. And why is that important? That time frame is important is because the project wants to look at what it's imminent, what it's coming. Because AI right now, it's moving tremendously quickly because it's the new password and everybody's interested. And in my review of a lot of the NCHRP research statements yesterday, because it's the time of the year where we review the NCHRP problems. And NCHRP is the National Cooperative Highway Research Program that is being run by the Transportation Research Board in the United States on behalf of AASHTO. I noticed that there were a lot of projects on artificial intelligence. So it's important for PIARC that looks for practical solutions that can be implemented to be ahead of these and to really be started. The project is almost done, and we should be expecting to be having the report out soon. And together with the report, hopefully, be tuned for more presentations on the topic, and hopefully an article and or two that would help provide, all the knowledge that was gained through this project to everybody.
Wow, thank you. So for those of our listeners who don't know it yet, at PIARC we have a history of publishing reports and organizing meetings and seminars. And if you don't know where to find them, go to www.piarc.org and use our search bar, and you will find hundreds of reports, including those two reports that Christos just mentioned. So back now to the transport agency of the future. Let me start with this. Why do transport agencies need to change? Why the future?
I have to say that you really have an advantage over all of our listeners because you actually read every single report that comes out of the committees, and this would help me refer to some of TC11 work from previous cycles, since it really touched on the need for change and on the drivers for change. So change is really around us, right? And it's inevitable. These are all cliches, but they're actually cliches because we all know that they are true. And similarly, with change around us and being inevitable, transport agencies must also proactively assess, both the external and internal environments and adapt to the new paradigms and start for the future. Right? Like I said, many agencies work not just, Rhode Island DOT is not the only agency that has a 10-year plan. Some agencies look even further out. We all, in the planning world, there is also, the long-range transportation plan that typically looks for 25 years out. So road and transport administrations across the world, they really, right now, they face a range of pressures to change the way they plan, the way they organize and deliver services. This pressures vary in nature, for example, from changes in the demographic and customer base, the expectations of a customer. Everybody expects solutions right now. This is the new millennia. So, the introduction of disruptive technologies, all of a sudden Uber shows up. We have mobility as a service. We have digitalization. We have evolving economic, social, and environmental regulations. We had the COVID pandemic that forced us all to change overnight. And then we also have the constant political drive to deliver enhanced outcomes with reduced public funding and resources. So all of these, actually, there is a great report on the PIARC website from the 2016-2019 cycle titled Evaluating the Transformation of Transport Administrations, and I would highly recommend it to everyone. It's a timeless work, particularly as changes around us accelerate. You mentioned earlier the seminar report, so I would refer them also to the report from our seminar in Kiev in 2018, where the conclusion was, if you do not manage change, change will manage you. Hence the importance for transport administrations to really be planning for change.
Yeah, that sounds ominous, and I hope we can all contribute to managing change. So a change, as you mentioned something that's really interesting, a change from infrastructure provider, which is probably the older previous way of looking at things, to a service provider. How much progress would you say that agencies around the world have already made on that route?
So that really differs by country, right? And to go back to another seminar from 2018, this time in Beijing, hence my background, where we actually, after 2+ days of deliberations during the seminar and our meetings over there, we actually recognize that transport administrations need to stop defining themselves by the assets that they own, but rather by the service they deliver, the customer's needs and expectations, and how the transport administration's actions could positively impact the quality of life of their customers. That was really the beginning of our thought, together with the impact of emerging and disruptive technology, looking into the drivers of change. That's really what got us thinking about the transport agency of the future as a refocus from just an infrastructure-based agency that we fix roads and bridges, to actually start thinking about why are the roads and the bridges there, and what do they service, right? So everybody talks about mobility as a service, but transport administrations, road agencies, for tens of years now, more than 100 years, and if we want to go back to ancient history, since I'm Greek, you know, they have been providing what we're gonna call road as a service, right? We've built the roads, we've built the bridges, and everybody uses them. So technically there has been this concept of road as a service, where we are servicing a customer base just through the existence of the infrastructure and the way we take care of it. So there is a lot of work being done now on the transport agency of the future, and on recognizing the need to be more service focused. As you know, TRB, had published the critical issues of transportation, and a lot. Astro is working on the moonshot projects, and we are working with IATR and UITP. IATR is the International Association of Transport Regulators. UITP represents transit agencies. So we are also working with them in the envisioning of not just the road agency of the future, but also the regulatory agency of the future and the transit agency of the future.
Yeah, that's a word you used earlier, Christos, is really extremely important when you think about roads. It's asset. Many countries have invested heavily year after year into building an efficient road system and road infrastructure asset, and it's worth billions and billions. And nowadays, in most countries, roads represent about 80% of all road transport. And a road that is not well maintained is detrimental to the quality of service, is detrimental to road safety, is detrimental to public transport, because buses, they use roads. And it's important that we find the best way to serve our customers and our users. And in some countries, because yes, I did read your report, transport agencies can be a regulator or road operator themselves, to just name a couple of roles that you mentioned. Is the road really better than the others?
Not necessarily, because you really need, and this is one of the great things about the work that we do, is that you have to look at the local context. We try to draw some general global conclusions, but when you look at that, you also need to really look at the local context as well. And as part of our work, we look to understand how the differences that exist among the countries and administrations, and understand the local context in each particular situation. So in some cases, the regulator might be more important, depending on the country, and in some other, cases, the infrastructure owner, the infrastructure operator would be more important. But all of them, they really need to work together. When you think about it, policy drives decisions, and decisions drive outcomes, and therefore we really need to be bringing all of that together under the same umbrella, and working seamlessly. And one of the things, in the transport, in TC11, even though we have a lot of technical folks on our committee, a lot of engineers like myself, we're really not an engineering committee. We don't come together as technical experts, despite our background, we come together because we recognize the importance that policy has in driving, the performance of a transport administration. So, you know, and so that's why there is this need for everything to work together, whether the regulators who drive the decisions. And some countries, the regulator and the infrastructure owner, it's actually housed under the same Ministry of Transport. In some other ones, the regulator is a separate, and then the owner operators are separate jurisdictions. But these are again, this is where it's important to work together. And beyond, I mean, if I may also, I want to, say that beyond the role, there is also the modality, right? Because it's also important for modalities to work together.
Of course, that goes without saying. You need roads to get to airports and to get to train stations, for example, and to bring people to markets, to schools, to hospitals, and to work sites. And so it's important to be aware of the different roles that the transport agency can have and see how they can be merged together, coordinated together at least. And there's a big question we're facing in many countries around employees. In some countries, the workforce is diminishing. And as you said, the world is changing really, really fast. And we need to make sure that working in transport agency or working in a road department is meaningful for our employees. Otherwise, they would just leave. So where do employees fit in this picture that you just described?
Right at the heart of the matter. I mean, it's probably employees are one of the most important aspects that we're dealing with. In order to be able to provide a great service for our customers, we need to make sure that the transport administration and their employees possess the resources to do so. And as we said in the previous cycle on the report on workforce, it is really all about the people. And when we're talking about the people over there, we're not necessarily talking about our citizens and the service we provide to our citizens, but it's all about the people in our administrations, and making sure that they grow together with the times, that we are providing them access to innovation, and paths, that they can continue enriching their knowledge. Our people are the ones that ensure that everything happens, right? Nothing happens on its own. Someone needs to make it happen. And if you want to envision the transport agency of the future, then you also have to envision the skill sets and the competencies that the employees of the future will need. So one of my old directors used to say, no person gets up in the morning and goes to work because they want to do a bad job. They all want to do a good job, right? Transport employees, road agency employees have always been on the front line, as we saw very recently in the pandemic, right? So but as such, we also need to prepare them for what comes in the future. AI is going to be changing things. Some jobs might be eliminated, but we might need new jobs. We also need to train employees in understanding AI. So they're always at the heart of the matter, because, no employees, no work.
Yeah, that's true. That's quite true. But as you said, we are lucky at the General Secretariat to read the reports that we publish coming from the experts such as yourself, Christos. There's a very interesting quote in one of your reports, and I'm going to read my notes here. Do you believe the highway sector currently has the skills and competencies required to support the emerging use of autonomous vehicles in the network? That was the question. And the answers were 75% negative. So 3/4 of the respondents, that was an international survey, right, said we don't have the skills. That's striking, isn't it?
Yes, but at the same time, understandable, right? Particularly the last, 15, 5 to 10 years, while the fourth industrial revolution has been going on, and the fourth industrial revolution, it's the Internet of Things, and what we are working on, and transport administrations and our workforce is trying to still accumulate knowledge and get ready for that. we are seeing a new revolution again. In my words, perhaps some experts don't believe it, but I believe artificial intelligence, it's going to be its very own revolution. So this is where one revolution has not totally completed its cycle yet, but then something new, it's really starting, or the fourth industrial revolution is getting, rocket boosters and, taking off. So, which means that, knowledge takes years to develop, because, we need the universities to design new curriculum, and they need the industry to tell them what they need in the new workers. So there is a cycle that we really need to accelerate in order to provide new skill set and new competencies to our workforce. It's really the reason behind the existence of Working Group 3 in this cycle, that is investigating the competencies and skills needed in order to create a stronger future-focused workforce, which is really the name of the working group. It's, our workforce of the future need to be stronger and need to be, our workforce of now needs to be stronger and future-focused. So, and, I mentioned earlier about my work with ASHTO and PIARC and TRB, but we have seen the issue of workforce as a universal global challenge. It doesn't make a difference what country you are from. And this is really the results of the survey. The question was one of the reports, but it was a result of the survey that we did to support the work for that report in the last cycle. So it is therefore, important to collaborate across countries and modalities, as we look to create a future-focused workforce, and address the skill sets and competencies needed for now and the future.
Yeah, that's a really strong message. And sometimes I'm an engineer myself. I have to say, sometimes we enter a room and someone would say at some point, well, we're all engineers here. And this is so not right. We need to have engineers. We need to have sociologists who can understand what transportation system users really want. We need to have economists to just name a certain number of skill sets. And your committee has recently published an update of one of its reports. So that was the first report actually published last year by PIARC. Could you tell us more?
Oh, absolutely. I very, 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 very gladly. You know how proud I am that TC11 was able to build on the successful workshop on the Transport Agency of the Future that we organized as part of the of PIARC's World Road Congress in Prague in 2023. That was so well received that we followed with a workshop at the Transportation Research Board's annual meeting in Washington, D.C. in 2024. That was primarily organized by TRB with support from TC11. And then a special session at the Transport Research Arena in Dublin in April of 2024, plus some webinars along the way, and a workshop as part of our first seminar in Bangkok earlier in September. So these special events that we had and the knowledge that we accumulated from, all of these reports that I was mentioning during our conversation today, I've been sitting there and we were thinking about, why don't we bring all of this together and publish a state of knowledge of where we are with the Transport Agency of the Future, summarizing the important elements that we touched from previous cycles, summarizing the outcomes of the workshops, and making it, providing it a snapshot, a new report that really consolidates knowledge of multiple reports and workshops and webinars into one publication. So it's available for download. It's already out there. As you mentioned, it was PIARC's first word of the cycle. It makes for a great read, and it would help really set the stage for a lot of the work that we're going to be doing over the next couple of years as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Christos. And you mentioned the word cycle a couple of times. So for those all our audience who don't know that, we work over 4-year cycles in order to set goals to our technical committees, our TCs, as we say. But in addition to that, in order to be flexible at PIARC, we also sometimes commission work out, such as the 2 reports that you mentioned, Christos, on innovation and the other one on artificial intelligence. Well, it's been a really exciting conversation, but I'd like to conclude with 2 questions. I'd like to conclude this chat. The first question is, what are the top 3 practical recommendations you'd like to share with our audience today?
The first is to ask oneself, why is the transportation system here? And who is this supposed to serve, right? Every agency needs to have what I call a North Star. I'm sorry for my friends in the Southern Hemisphere where there isn't a North Star, but they can follow the Southern Cross, but in strategic planning, every agency needs to have a North Star. And what we've recognized that for us, as a public agency, people, society, and economic prosperity and social outcomes are the North Star and guiding principles, right? So, but you get to that by asking the question, why is our infrastructure there? Is it there just to admire what a beautiful bridge we've built, or is it there to serve a purpose, right? And what is that purpose? The second thing I would say is that, change is inevitable, right? And therefore embrace and drive change instead of the other way around. Don't wait for change to change you or force you into decisions that are not necessarily the ones that you would have made had you planned for it. So drive change instead of the other way around. And the last is innovate, 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 and innovate again. Be open-minded. Create and sustain a culture of innovation within your organization. Many times, innovation, in order to create that culture, it's from the top down. But innovation itself, in a real culture of innovation, it's actually from the bottom up. As a line employee, it's very important for transport administrations to really create this line of, sight, this line, that we say in strategic planning, where every single employee of an agency, no matter what their role is, can understand how they fit into the bigger picture and how their own, ability to come up with solutions and innovations can actually drive the performance of their administration.
Well, that's great. 3 messages then for everyone. And the second question, more shorter maybe. So can you share with us what's in store for you and for Committee 1.1 for the next few months?
Absolutely. Hopefully next week, we'll be in Vienna where we hope that we're going to have hybrid meetings, something that we've learned through the pandemic in order to better engage, folks that they, are not able to, to travel for, the third meeting of the cycle for TC11. Thank you to ASFINAC for hosting us there. And really, hopefully, a lot of great products out of all of our working groups, right? Working Group 1 is looking to follow up the recent report on envisioning the transport agency of the future, the state of knowledge, with literature review on the topic. That report has been submitted to the chair, that would be myself, for my review. So I'll be reviewing it together with, Jose Manuel Blanco Secara, who was the previous chair of the committee of Spain and a good friend, and he's our Spanish secretary now. So typically what we do when it reaches this stage, him and I review it at the same time together. And then Working Group 2, which is investigating public value creation, is already working on case studies and looking to publish an article on the topic. Public value creation it's not a new concept, by itself, but I think it's one that has not been talked about a lot. So we think that we need to start similarly with how we started with the workforce in the last cycle, where we published a couple of articles to, help spread the word of what we are doing. So we'll be doing something similar with that one. And Working Group 3, which is the one that is looking into the creating a stronger future-focused workforce, is working to organize roundtable discussions across multiple jurisdictions, broken geographically, in order to better understand the workforce needs on the future. So We're also together, we're also together with IATR on a joint survey that we hope to launch in May of 2025. I hope that many of our listeners also take the opportunity to respond to that survey once it's out. It's one of the outcomes that we hope to have out of Vienna is to finalize that survey. And it would help us. Why are surveys important? If you allow me, it's because they provide us a deeper understanding of the issues and challenges that transport administrations are facing now and also what they're facing in the future. That's pretty much what we're going to be asking and how they're preparing to address these questions. And the survey would actually help us identify countries, jurisdictions that we want to, further work with them in developing case studies from those countries.
Absolutely. That was a plug, but that's okay. We will publish this survey soon, and we will invite everyone from the road community, from high-income countries, and as you said, Christos earlier, low and middle-income countries as well, to share their knowledge and be ready so that they can contribute to a case study at some point, because everyone loves case studies, and I'm really glad we developed this as a product type at PIARC a couple of years back. And well, that's the end of our conversation, at least for today, because I'm sure we will certainly meet very, very soon. And I would like to end, before handing it back over to you, Christos, with a few thank you notes. Thank you to you, Christos. You've been serving as our committee chair for a few years now. And also thank you to Rhode Island DOT, because they let you spend some time on PIARC. And thank you to our key colleagues in the USA, the FHWA, TRB, and AASHTO, who make it all possible. And also to my team, Marina Domingo-Monsonis and Veronika Fedorchenko, who are helping us set up this collection of podcasts. And today is the first one. So, Christos, do you want to have the last word?
Patrick, thank you for providing this opportunity. As you already know, I love the work that we do at PIARC. Many times, as the chair, I might be the face for the entire committee, but there is really a group of dedicated professionals, that are behind this. We have a great leadership group. I mentioned a couple of them earlier. Jonathan Spear and Maria Eugenia Martinez, who lead Working Group 1. Diana Belden, now for Texas Transportation Institute, and Andreas from Austria, from ASFINAG, who lead Working Group 2. Karen Bobo of the Federal Highway, and Alan Colgate of Australia, who lead Working Group 3. Our secretaries, Ariane Dupont, Jose Manuel Blanco Segarra, and again, Alan Colgate, who actually serves two roles. Communications coordinator, Rachel Long of the UK, and a couple of roles that we have. One is Mark Henry Ruberenza from Uganda. Is serving for us as a special advisor for low middle income countries, because we recognized the need to do that. And Anne-Séverine Poupelier, who's also a member of the executive committee from Flanders, Belgium, who works with the leadership group to ensure that we really have engagement. And one of her roles is, if someone doesn't feel comfortable coming to the leadership role, they can actually go to Anne-Séverine and help with that.
Thank you. So thank you to our audience as well. And we really hope that this has been interesting. Bye.